There's a whole fleet of them. Look on the ASA.
There's been a drastic increase in UFO sightings this year. While recently we have seen many retired military personnel speak out concerning their experiences with UFOs, UAPs, both the Defense Department and NASA are committed to the story that there's no proof of extraterrestrial life anywhere, and that there never has been. They claim that these phenomena are completely unknown, and that despite personal statements released by any individual, the US government has yet to find any conclusive evidence suggesting the presence of extraterrestrial life. But here lies the problem. On one side, we have people across the country and even the world recording and exposing all different types of UFOs, UAPs. But on the other side is the government telling us that they have no answer to our questions. I believe that this puts us in one of three different scenarios, and today we are going to explore both the possibility and the implications of all three. While it is hard to believe that genuinely nothing is known about these phenomena, let's give the government the benefit of the doubt and say that this is true. This is definitely the most lame scenario, but it leaves the government with the best reputation of the three scenarios, and it best demonstrates one of physics' most popular concepts, the Fermi paradox. Enrique Fermi highlighted the discrepancy between the high likelihood of the existence of life and the lack of conclusive evidence of any intelligent extraterrestrial life. There are billions of stars in the Milky Way similar to the Sun, and in the recent years we have learned that Earth-like exoplanets are also a very common occurrence in our galaxy. This, mixed with the fact that many of these stellar systems are much older than the Sun and have had, in some cases, billions of more years to produce life, it raises the question now more than ever. But where is everybody? This profound question can lead us to searching, sometimes desperately, for an answer. And in this desperation, it is very easy to point fingers. It is possible that we pin the government as a scapegoat out of frustration due to our inability to understand the universe. However, to many of us, it seems like there's just no way the government could truly be ignorant. Despite the lack of an answer from the government, scientists worldwide have not stopped trying to find answers themselves. One possible solution to the Fermi paradox leads us perfectly into scenario number 2. While the word evidence definitely doesn't fit, depending on how you choose to perceive it, looking back through human history could bring to your attention many situations where alien intervention is not only possible, but completely believable. From the construction of absolutely massive structures in the ancient world, to the claims of direct messages from godlike beings by some of the most powerful leaders of all time. It is important to remember that information and technology both eventually get lost to time. And because of this, it is possible that we have an internal gap in the explanations of our universe that will never be filled. But with all of this in mind, it allows us to ask ourselves the question, why would aliens want to help us? It is possible they are trying to study earlier civilizations, much like we currently do with the many tribes that are around today who remain no contact. It is possible that they want future allies once, if ever, we reach a certain level of technological progression. This level is often referred to as the Great Filter, and it can be any obstacle that a civilization faces in their timeline. Things like global warming and the threat of nuclear war are among these possible obstacles. These aliens could bring it upon themselves to help other civilizations overcome this Great Filter. However, whatever their purpose may be, the fact stands that they deliberately hide their existence from us while simultaneously watching us very closely. These civilizations view the Earth much like a zoo, a place to go see exotic, albeit not so intelligent life for their own amusement. This could be the disturbing scenario our species is in, and much like a parent telling a child that their dog ran away instead of telling them it got hit by a car, it is possible the government hides the existence of ETs simply because they think it is for our own good. And while this seems like a very noble responsibility for them to take onto themselves, that leaves us wondering, who are they to hide anything from us? After all, we are not children, and they are not our parents. And this really sets the stage to explore scenario number 3. Without pulling any more punches, we are going to explore the most terrifying and, in my opinion, the most likely scenario. By blindly allowing the government to decide what we should know and what is for our own good, we are giving them everything they need to force us into total submission. One controversial example of this is the constant lies surrounding the Vietnam War. Throughout almost all of the war, anyone in Vietnam, or at the highest clearance of our military, knew that this war was not to be won by anyone. This 18-year-long stalemate saw endless killing without any direct benefits, much like the ineffectiveness of trench warfare that we saw in World War I. The only outcome besides death was the immense use of resources that had to be bought from US companies, pouring more money into the US economy, but even more importantly into the pockets of those who brought us into the war in the first place. Not to mention the continued delays of the release of the JFK files, the complete records surrounding the most mysterious assassination in US history. JFK was an avid opposer of the Vietnam War, and publicly stated his plans to remove our troops from Vietnam multiple times, something that wouldn't happen for another 10 years after his death. If all of this is true, then it sets a very dangerous precedent of what those are willing to do for their own gain. The government sent 50,000 US men to die in Vietnam, and they didn't even admit to the truth of the situation in documents titled the Pentagon Papers until the end of the war. And while it is unclear what these same individuals today have to gain from directly or indirectly working with aliens, it is safe to assume that it very well might be used against us for their own good. So let's finally explore the consequences of this final scenario to see what direction our world might be headed in. Without having to put on our tinfoil hats to explore the possible actions of these powerful individuals, we can explore the consequences of continued government secrecy. While there was an immediate backlash at the release of the Pentagon Papers exposing the truth of the Vietnam War, it appears that by this time the US government was already hiding and denying the existence of alien life. In 1947, we saw the Roswell crash, an incident highly regarded to be one of the first well-known UFO crashes, UAP crashes, where the government was able to collect the specimen itself. Although of course to this day, the government claims it was nothing but a weather balloon, possibly sent by the Soviets in order to spy on us. What would happen if one day the government decided to tell us that aliens are real, and that the UAPs are actual alien spacecrafts? I imagine the same thing that will happen when the government decides to tell us about what happened to JFK, which just so happens to be the same thing that happened when they finally released the Pentagon Papers. A massive influx of disapproval and distrust from the public. Maybe eventually we will get tired of the lies and the deception, and we will seek the answers for ourselves. This might entail a revolution to really get to the bottom of everything, but hopefully the situation won't be so dire. It is possible that one day, when the timing is right and the right people are in charge, they will tell us the truth about everything, dealing one final, although enormous blow to the government's reputation, one that at this point is all but unavoidable. They could face the consequences of their actions and turn a new leaf, trying their best to restore trust and nationalism in their citizens over several generations. However, if this doesn't happen, it could lead us to one last option. The US decides to double down on its lies and eventually, possibly even with the help of aliens, force us into a total Big Brother scenario. With enough deception and cover-ups, the government can create whatever story it wishes to, and with enough time, these stories will eventually become history. They can create a world where the explanation to everything is defined by them and them alone. Show no mercy to any opposition. Allow not even a single thought of defiance. Revoke any and all freedoms that lead to the expression of individual character. We are not citizens, we are the human embodiment of America. Each of us but an indistinguishable part of the whole, with the only goal of doing whatever the hell we are told to. They will tell you what to eat, they will tell you what to wear, and they will tell you who you will marry. They will even tell you what to say, UAP and not UFO. Every decision you make will be made for you, but unlike any kind of divine plan, this will be the work of an entity whose objective is completely unknown to any and all, and your only accomplishment in life would be helping to fulfill this objective. I am not an anarchist, and I don't think you should believe everything in this video. However, I do believe that it is important to consider these situations in light of any information that might be withheld from us. With the recent war in Israel emerging, now is the most important time for us to pay attention to the appeared change in status quo, which could lead us to another Vietnam War incident, or even worse, World War III. If you enjoyed this video, please make sure to subscribe to the channel. This video is a little different from the rest, so please make sure to let me know what you think in the comments down below. Personally, I enjoy exploring concepts and scenarios such as this, and I hope that you guys share this same interest. For more content like this, watch this video about the most dangerous thought experiment. But beware.